From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update.
Hi, this is Kylie Conway, and this is your News 8 Daily 8 for Tuesday, January 10th. Going to have even a warmer afternoon today after a chilly start this morning. Temps will reach 50 degrees with some sunshine peeking through too. Dry conditions. Areas north of Indy will hang back in the low to mid 40s for their highs, but really a beautiful January day in store. We were following breaking news this morning on daybreak. Indianapolis firefighters resuscitated 5 people, including 4 children, after an apartment fire. The fire investigators said overnight that all 5 victims are in critical condition. It happened at the Briargate Apartments on the far east side of Indianapolis. All 5 victims were found inside unconscious and in cardiac arrest. The children range in age from 1 to 14 years old. IFD says the father of 2 of the children is the 5th victim. Investigators think the 5 were possibly sleeping when a couch in the front room caught fire. Firefighters said the fire was almost out by the time they arrived, but the apartment was filled with smoke. IFD says medics revived the victims with CPR before taking them to local hospitals. The department says this all happened very quickly.
The 5 people inside that unit were simply just breathing in that toxic smoke from that furniture. It gives, depending on what the couch was made of, can give some deadly toxins into the air. And that may have rendered them unconscious.
IFD says the mother of the youngest of 3 children was not home at the time and met investigators at the hospital. We're also learning a family of 3 living above the apartment is displaced due to smoke in their apartment and utilities being shut off. Investigators say they only heard working smoke alarms in the building hallway and not inside the apartment. IFD is still working to figure out what caused the fire. And 2 people are dead after an SUV hit a delivery truck head-on. The sheriff's department tells us that it happened just before 9:30 in southeastern Johnson County on US 31, just north of State Road 252. According to investigators, a driver of the SUV was traveling south in the northbound lanes when they hit the delivery truck. Both drivers died in the crash. No other information on the victims has been provided. From my teammate, attorneys for the Delphi murder suspect want the prosecutor to hand over the evidence in the case. Richard Allen's attorneys will try to convince the judge this week. iTeammate's Richard Essex explains.
Richard Allen's lawyers want the names of every person that have talked to police about this case. They want every single police report that has been filed on this case. His court-appointed lawyers have the green light to hire a private investigator, and the 7-page filing is the roadmap they plan to use for his defense. This 7-page filing is the first step in the discovery phase of this case. Allen's lawyers are looking for the names of confidential informants, all phone records, witness statements, whether there was any electronic surveillance or recordings. Ken Eastwood, the Boone County prosecutor, says this is fairly standard.
My experiences in a major investigation such as this, the sheer volume of stuff you're putting together is going to take some time.
After 4.5 years, investigators had not named a suspect or person of interest for the 2017 murders of Abby and Libby. Richard Allen became a person of interest after investigators went through previous interviews. At the time, police had received almost 20,000 tips and conducted close to 500 interviews. They discovered that Allen had told police in 2017, just days after the murders, that he had been on the Monon Trail the day the girls were murdered. Allen's lawyers want the names and addresses of everyone who offered relevant information to this case.
As a prosecutor, we are required by law to give to the defense anything that we intend to use at trial and anything that tends to show that the defendant didn't commit the crime.
Police released 3 seconds of cell phone video and audio of the person they believe murdered the girls. What else is on that recording? Are other people in the area? Did people come forward with Allen's name? The filing is asking for all the evidence collected about Allen to be turned over.
But as a prosecutor, generally, you give pretty much everything unless it's work product.
If the Carroll County prosecutor holds back information or evidence that he believes is not relevant to Allen and then tries to introduce it later at the trial, there's a good chance the judge would not allow it.
Because the last thing you want to do is say, hey, now this is relevant. Now I want to use it in trial. Here it is for the first time. And the judge could easily say, you're not going to be able to use that. So what'll happen, so as prosecutors, you don't want to play that game.
Richard Allen and his court-appointed lawyers are expected to be in the Carroll County Courthouse Friday at 10 o'clock. In Indianapolis, Richard Essex, Wish TV, iTeam 8.
In Indianapolis, the City County Council is recognizing the drop in violence in 2022. The council passed a special resolution last night commending peacemakers, police officers, and community partners for their hard work. The measure notes the city saw the largest year-to-year drop in homicides since the creation of IMPD. By the count of the mayor's office, there were 212 homicides last year, down from 252 in 2021. And today, a caucus of Hamilton County Republicans is going to happen to fill a vacancy on the Carmel City Council. Bruce Kimball died last month, 2 years after suffering a stroke that kept him away from council meetings. The party chair says all precinct committee members in Carmel are eligible to participate in today's caucus. It is this evening at 6 at the party headquarters in Westfield. Also happening today, Governor Eric Holcomb will outline his legislative requests in the annual State of the State address. It comes a day after top-ranking lawmakers return to the State House to begin drafting a new 2-year state budget. Senate Republicans push their priorities with no mention of education, despite the governor's push for a $1 billion school budget boost. Instead, they're focusing on health care costs and paying down debt, but say school funding is also a priority.
We need to try and fund that at a level that makes them as effective as possible and make sure that and also to try and make sure that those dollars get into the hands of the men and women who are in the classrooms teaching our children across the state of Indiana.
On the other side, Democrats are calling for more money to be sent to traditional public schools to help build a more competitive workforce.
It's not time to reinvent. It's time to reinvest in our schools. Decades of underinvestment and undue burdens on teachers and administrators have led to historic educator shortages and increased student suffering as a consequence.
Governor Holcomb's State of the State begins tonight at 7. We will carry it live on Wish TV. The U.S. House has approved the package of rules it will operate under. The vote fell largely down party lines, with one Republican voting against it. Others had threatened to over the concession Speaker Kevin McCarthy made to get enough votes to land the top job. The rules now allow a single member to call for a vote to oust the sitting speaker. The White House is offering a new, more generous route to repay lower student loans for millions of borrowers. The Education Department calls it a student loan safety net. Right now, monthly payments are capped at 10% of a borrower's income. The new proposal cuts that in half for undergraduate loans. It also allows anyone making less than $30,600 a year to pause payments altogether. And as long as borrowers make payments, any unpaid interest would not be charged, shortening the time it takes for smaller loans to be forgiven. The White House has not said when a final rule could be released. Versity Blood Center says its emergency appeal for donations could be a matter of life or death. The center here in Indianapolis has less than a day's supply of blood needed for hospitals all across the state. In a typical week, the Blood Center needs 2,900 people to donate to supply Indiana hospitals. Right now, they say they're not close to that number. Dr. Dan Waxman is the vice president and senior medical director for Versity. He says with the recent holidays, it's been more difficult getting the necessary donations. That means hospitals are getting sent blood on a case-by-case situation. He says if a hospital calls and wants 20 units of blood, the Blood Center may only be able to offer them 10 units instead. And with 3 level 1 trauma centers in Indianapolis alone, leaders say that they're worried. The process to donate blood is very simple. It only takes about an hour from the sign-in process to the end of the donation. Anyone 17 and older can donate. Each blood donation can be turned into 3 different products, meaning you're saving up to 3 lives with your donation. You can either make an appointment to donate or you can walk in. We've made it easy for you to make an appointment. Just go to wishtv.com through your computer, your phone, whatever device you like, and go to the As Seen On section. Click on this story, and inside the story, you'll find a link where you can sign up for an appointment. The owner of the original Jordan's Fish and Chicken is defending the restaurant after a viral video showed concerning conditions at a location. As we've reported, the video sparked an investigation and a closure by the Marion County Health Department. ITMate's Cody Fisher explains the owner's frustrations.
Jordan's Fish and Chicken here at the corner of 42nd and Post is still closed down by the health department. That's what that sign on their front door says right behind me here. But what's different about this location is they've now taken down their sign. That's because the owner of the original Jordan's Fish and Chicken threatened legal action.
I was really upset. I was very mad.
That's what Mo Idous thought when he saw the now viral video of a mouse on the floor of the Jordans at 42nd and Post, and someone who appears to be an employee working without shoes on, and what looks like food for customers being served from open containers on the floor.
It was very painful, and I totally understand the confusion by the customers.
Idous is the original owner of Jordan's Fish and Chicken. At one point in time, he owned all of the locations around Indianapolis, but over the years, he sold some of them off. Some of the people he sold them to have permission to use his restaurant's name long term. The person who bought this location at 42nd and Post did not.
When we sold that location, we told them, hey, this is the location, you guys can have it for this many months until you have the operation, everything is going well, then you guys can turn the sign down. They did turn the sign down, then they put it back up without our knowledge.
We called the owner of this location to confirm this account of events, but they haven't responded to our message.
In the marketplace, we're really looking out for the consumer.
iTeammate spoke with attorney Trezene Atkins last week about this situation. She specializes in trademark law. Since speaking with her, Idous hired her to handle trademark infringement of Jordan's Fish and Chicken. She says they have filed trademark applications at the state and federal level with the goal of preventing restaurant owners from using Jordan's Fish and Chicken as their name unless they have permission.
I don't think it's a quick process. I think it is a long-term solution for them.
While that long-term solution plays out, Idous is trying to fight off the stigma that his restaurants are also dirty. On your screen are Jordan's Fish and Chicken's locations Idous says are original and are legally using the name. He says anyone can come check out how clean they are.
Right now, we're really worried. We don't want our name to be hurt by anybody's mistakes.
The owner of this location at 42nd and Post still does have the opportunity to fix these violations and reopen as a restaurant. Reporting in Indianapolis, Cody Fisher, Wish TV, iTeammate.
Fisher-Price is renewing a recall for its Rock and Play sleepers. The company is reporting more infant deaths associated with its first recall. Fisher-Price first issued the recall in 2019, saying infants can roll from their backs to their stomach or side while unrestrained. According to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, around 100 deaths have been associated with the sleepers. 8 of those deaths happened after the recall. The CPSC says everyone should stop using the sleepers immediately and contact Fisher-Price for a refund or voucher. A jury is now seated in the second seditious conspiracy trial against 5 members of the Proud Boys on charges from the Capitol riots. The group includes one of the group's leaders, Enrique Tarrio. He was not in Washington on the day of the attack, but federal prosecutors say he and the other members plotted and encouraged violence in the days leading up to it. Opening statements are set to start tomorrow. They face sentences of up to 20 years. The Justice Department says it is now investigating classified documents that were found last fall in an office formerly used by President Biden when he was vice president. Sources with CNN say the documents are found at a D.C. office that he occasionally used while serving as an honorary professor at the University of Pennsylvania from 2017 to 2019. The sources say fewer than a dozen documents were found. According to Biden's legal team, his attorneys found them while packing up the office. They say the documents have been returned to the National Archives. More than 30,000 people in California are under evacuation orders and thousands more without power as deadly floods sweep across the state. Streets and highways look like rivers. Trees and power lines have toppled. Officials say 14 people have died from the storms. Rescuers have also called off the search for a 5-year-old boy who was swept away by floodwaters. He's not been declared dead, but rescuers say current water levels are too dangerous for divers. Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin is back in New York. Doctors released him from the hospital in Cincinnati, where he spent 1 week after collapsing on the field in a primetime game. He's now at a hospital in Buffalo and tweeting his thanks. Headed home to Buffalo today with a lot of love in my heart. Watching the world come together around me on Sunday was truly an amazing feeling. The same love you all have shown me is the same love that I plan to put back into the world in more. Bigger than football. Doctors say Hamlin took his first walk Friday, kept improving through the weekend, and still needs to regain his strength. Doctors say it is still too soon to know if Hamlin can safely play football again. He also faces more tests and evaluations to guide his recovery and to figure out why he went into cardiac arrest. And football fans filled the streets of Athens, Georgia this morning. There is plenty of confetti to clean up in Southern California as the University of Georgia stands atop college football again. The Bulldogs pulled off the most lopsided win ever in a title game, steamrolling Texas Christian 65-7. The game was never close. Georgia was up 31 at the half. It's the second straight title for the Bulldogs. And a Colts watch, the lockers are empty at Colts Complex. The players cleared out Monday after a frustrating end to a dismal season. The 4-12-1 record leaves many questions about which players, coaches, and front office leaders will return. The Colts have the 4th overall pick in the April draft. They currently have an interim coach in Jeff Saturday. He's made it clear he wants to keep the job. General Manager Chris Ballard is set to speak with media this morning at 10:30. Our team will be there and we'll have full coverage throughout the day, starting with the midday news. And finally, to business headlines, Elon Musk turned to Twitter over the past few days to unveil a few new features expected to be rolled out as early as next week. Some of the enhancements include being able to swipe between recommended and followed tweets, create long-form tweets, and bookmark tweets with the touch of a button. Disney CEO Bob Iger is cracking down on remote work. He told hybrid corporate employees they will be required to work in the office at least 4 days per week beginning March 1st. He told them in a creative business like ours, nothing can replace the ability to connect, observe, and create with peers that comes from being physically together. With all the frustration with air travel, Boomerang is looking to make it better. It uses intelligent AI, matching technology airports seamlessly connect travelers with lost items. The TSA estimates that about 90,000 to 100,000 items are left behind at checkpoints each month. Gas Buddy says gasoline prices are now $3.25 a gallon as of Sunday and above last week's averages. U.S. gas demand rose 1.8% last week. AAA says the current average price in central Indiana is $3.23 a gallon. And most Americans say right now is not a good time to buy a home. The Fannie Mae survey found this to be true, even with slightly lower mortgage rates. As long as the public feels like this, the housing market will struggle. This has been your News 8 Daily 8 for Wish TV. I'm Kylie Conway, online at wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook when you search Wish TV.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update on demand for even more on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at wishtv.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening, and be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.